So this, you are in, you can't really read the title, unfortunately, from this rendering. Getting started on the Salesforce.com certified Force.com developer credential. And a lot of people refer to this certification as the 401 certification. I got to clear this, the Dev 401 certification. And the reason for that, of course, is that it's very well known that the Salesforce official course that goes by the name of Dev 401 is Building Force.com Applications. And there's an association of that course with the certification, and that's absolutely true. But I try to tell people that this is not the Dev 401 cert. This is the Certified Developer certification. How many of you are certified in some other platform or language? Anybody? Okay. You guys, when you certified in that platform, did you take a course and then take a test to get certified? And what was the duration between when you took the course and when you took the test and passed? It was all in one. So you go and you take a course. Was that the same experience? Who was somebody had the?
I just took the test after doing development.
But with non-Salesforce, some other platform? And okay, so but it was fairly recent to when you took the course?
Yeah.
Okay. So we're going to talk about that because the Salesforce certifications, that is not the scenario, and that's why I say it's not the Dev 401 cert. So we'll come back to that. So here's a little information about all the certification tracks. We're going to focus on the developer certification track. I have a laser here somewhere, just help point at things. There we go, if you can see that. We're gonna focus on the developer track, but Salesforce has 7 different certifications. And as the platform evolves, because it's such an innovative platform and it evolves every 4 months, the certifications evolve with it. So over time, we have added new certifications, and no doubt we'll add additional certifications going forward. And it's really, the great divide is somewhere right down here. We have the administrator track, which has the Salesforce certified administrator, and we have the certified advanced administrator. And the certified administrator is a prerequisite for the advanced administrator. And then also on that same side of the divide, we have the implementation expert track. This has to do with product expertise, Sales Cloud and Service Cloud. We have 2 different certifications, Sales Cloud and Service Cloud. And for that, again, you need the Salesforce administrator as a prerequisite. On the developer side, let's see if I can swipe in there a little bit. On the developer side, we have the, oops, I guess it doesn't like that, certified developer, that's the Force.com developer. And then we have the certified Force.com advanced developer. We're focusing here on the Force.com developer. And it is indeed the prerequisite for the Force.com advanced developer. Now, the end of the session, I'm going to tell you that there's a couple of sessions still to happen this week. One happened this morning. If you're interested in learning more about the advanced developer as well, even though the Force.com developer is a prerequisite, there will be a session tomorrow. Is it Wednesday tomorrow? Peter Chittum? You know the date? 1:30. And we can get you more details at the end of the session. So if you're curious about that, because it's a much more complex certification process, you can go to that session and hear all about it. And then, of course, the sort of the big daddy certification is the architect track, Salesforce Certified Architect. And that is the sort of, that is the all-knowing, all-seeing certified technical architect. And there is a prerequisite for that as well of the Force.com developer. So that is sort of the whole set. So if you want to learn more about these, you can go to certification.salesforce.com. All of the information about all the certifications are there. We're going to drill in a little deeper to the certified developer. All right. So what is the certified Force.com developer certification? What does it mean? What is the value of it? Well, it is to demonstrate your mastery, whoever it is who attains this. It is to demonstrate that you have the skills, the knowledge, the know-how, and the experience to master the management of application development using the declarative features, not the programmatic features, not Apex, not even Visualforce, the declarative features of the platform to be able to build and maintain applications. Now that includes extensions to CRM functionality. It might be a standard Salesforce Enterprise CRM customer, but they've also got to make customizations to the CRM objects and the CRM pages, and maybe they want to add a little visual force. They want to use the declarative features to the full extent. They want someone who knows maybe more than an administrator. Administrator is really the care and feeding of the beast. The developer is going to know more about building out data objects and models, choosing which relationships, what kind of fields, how to embed things in page layouts, how to work with record types, maybe some security issues and sharing things, etc. And the idea is that the certification attests that you really know what you're doing. So thinking of the concept of, well, I'm going to go take Dev 401, which absolutely is a course that covers a lot of the foundation content about declarative development on the platform, and then going the next week or the week after, or maybe 2 weeks after, and taking an exam and passing it is really not realistic. The certification is to show that you've been doing it. Now, how do you do it? Well, the purpose of the training that Salesforce offers, classes that I teach and can answer questions later on in our Q&A session, absolutely teach you about the platform, teach you what's there, teach you what to expect, help you sort of wrap your head around it if you come from other platforms, as many of you do. But it's not until you actually work in the platform that you really learn, oh, and the lights come on and you attain your mastery. You attain your wisdom of the platform rather than just your knowledge because you sat through a course. There are no prerequisites. 401 is recommended. It's an immersive, week-long, 5-day course. There are podcasts that used to be up for you to look at. Used to be on the iTunes store. Don't know if they're still there. There are a number of recommended things to look at. Some of the online Premier Catalog, if you have access to that, absolutely help. There's more and more printed content available, and there's a list in the study guide. There's a full study guide for this as well as the other certifications up on the certification portal. And again, this is a prerequisite for the advanced. Now, where do you take it? We're just going to go over the logistics first, and then we'll get in a little bit more of the nitty-gritty. So it's available to take at testing centers all over. We're partners with Criterion. They run the testing mechanisms. The exams are online. They're digitally presented in a screen by screen. You register through a web assessor account. How many of you hold any other certifications? Okay, so you're familiar with this. It is a multiple choice exam. There's 60 questions. You get an hour and a half to complete the exam, 68%. This exam is only presented in 2 languages, English and Japanese. And there is a registration fee of $200. If you do not pass and you wish to retake it, there is a 50% retake fee of $100. If you take the Dev 401 course, you get a voucher. It's included with the cost of the course, but not the retake fees. So the first time, if you pass it, great. If you don't, unfortunately, you're going to have to pay the retake fee. These are proctored exams. For those of you who've never taken a Salesforce exam, these are proctored. You go into a test center, and you don't exactly have to take all your clothing off, but you're not allowed to bring in paper, devices, anything that you might contain information. This is not an open book exam, and they're fairly stringent about it. Let's talk about what's on the test. What's on the test? It is comprehensive, and this is probably why people who do fail it, even if they've been working in the platform for a while. It's intended to show that you have a broad knowledge of the platform. Not necessarily overly deep. It's certainly nuanced. The platform is nuanced. But you have to know the spectrum of the declarative functionality. That's the whole point. So a developer who may already have been working a lot in Apex, building visual force pages and triggers, and helping with some page layouts, but has never worked with reporting, has never configured security, has never built a workflow. They're writing triggers instead. They're likely not to pass this exam because it covers the entire broad spectrum of the declarative capability of the platform, and there's a lot there and more every few months, right? So it is comprehensive. Now that's why we have a study guide, and the study guide has a chart. This is the table of contents of the study guide. It shows what's in it. It's only about, I don't know, 8 or 10 pages long. So, you know, there's some overview and purpose, et cetera. You can go download this at any time. Talks about the exam, talks about recommended training, talks about some places you can go to get some additional material. Gives you a really great exam outline, and this is where I suggest you focus. We actually have a short summary clip of that I'll show you in a minute. It also gives you a sampling of the questions, just a handful of questions to give you a sense of what those questions are like. We're going to talk about questions too. And it also gives you information about maintaining your certification after you've been certified. You have to maintain your certification and keep it current. We'll talk about the details of that as well. Here on the left of this slide, the chart included in the study guide is broken down into these high-level groupings. And the percentage is a valid indication of the weight of the number of questions that would be on the exam. So for example, the data model, really heavy. You really need to know your way around the Force.com data model. There's an assumption that as a Force.com developer, you're really going to be building objects and making decisions about which relationships to use, and understanding how to set security and how to do roll-ups and where it is appropriate and where it's not appropriate, et cetera. So you really want to know the data model. That's a third, typically in weight. Another high one, business logic, validation rules, workflow, approval process. Do you understand the terminology? Terminology is really important. It might be that, you know, well, yeah, I've seen a couple of approval processes built in my org, but I kind of sort of know what they do. That's not good enough. You need to know the terminology of, you know, what are parallel approvers? Who knows what a parallel approver is, or parallel approvers? Okay, so parallel approver simply means that if you have a workflow approval process step that can be approved or rejected by more than one approver, they're called parallel approvers. Okay, that's pretty nuanced. You probably may have seen an approval process where there's more than one approver, but you may not have known that. You get the question wrong. If they use the terminology, you get the question wrong. It's important to know certain levels of nuance. So you really have to understand to a deeper level. Certainly user interface. This one often raises the question about, well, what about Visualforce? This is supposed to be declarative. I'm not a web programmer. I don't do Visualforce. Well, you don't get tested on Visualforce, even though, not really, even though we do include a section on Visualforce in the Dev 401 class. What you might see are some conceptual questions on Visualforce. Where can you access a Visualforce page from? Well, you know, a tab, because that you should know that you could hook up a tab to launch a Visualforce page even if you're not the one building the Visualforce page. I can get to a Visualforce page by embedding it in a page layout. Well, if you're going to be maintaining page layouts, you need to know that there might be a section in there that points to a Visualforce page. So having some conceptual knowledge, that will be potentially tested. Data management, that's import and export. Have you ever used Data Loader? How many people have used Data Loader? Well, great, no problem. You'll be fine with data management. It's important to know those things. And then this, reporting and analytics. We don't even include reporting and analytics in the Dev 401 class that I teach. So unless you are familiar with reports, unless you know how to build a new report, unless you understand what report types are and how report types get built when you build new relationships, you probably have a little problem with that. I know I did when I took the first Dev 401 related exam. When I took my certified developer exam, I had not taken Dev 401. I didn't know what an analytic snapshot was. I didn't understand how to manage trending. I'd never built a report. Got it wrong. So I flunked. So you want to understand a comprehensive, broad array of topics, and the study guide is designed at a more granular level. You'll see it's much more granular than this, of what it is you need to have, or be aware of and have covered. Now it also will, in addition to recommending some training, it does point to these Premier Catalog online courses. And unfortunately, unless you have Premier support and have access to the Premier catalog, you won't have access to these. But there are quite a few courses in the catalog that if you do have that subscription, they will be very helpful. In addition, absolutely this book, and if you've never seen the Force.com Fundamentals book, it's just been reprinted, and over in the developer zone on the second floor of Moscone West, they're giving them away like candy. Go get yourself one, get one for your colleague, get one for your colleague's colleague. Take it to bed with you nightly and read it from cover to cover. And it will give you pretty much everything, topic-wise, of what it is you need to understand and then go off and work with. And you're going to want to work with it by building stuff. You're going to want to get yourself a developer edition org that's independent of your company's org. You're going to want to figure out, well, what can I build? I don't know. Well, you can always do the tutorials. There's a bunch of tutorials out there. There's a Force.com workbook. You can pick up copies of that as well over at the library. You can download it off of the developer site. All of these are available online from the Force.com, developer.force.com portal. And I recommend to students that they think of an app. Go build an app. Build that thing that you need to track your expenses or manage family budget or whatever. Use your imagination. Build something, but build it in a comprehensive manner. Build reports. Build a dashboard. Build anything that is covered by the topics that you're going to need to understand. Set up some security. Let your spouse look at some data and not look at others, etc. Oh, I can't click that. That doesn't work. So how do you register for the exam? Unfortunately, this isn't rendering very well. But you have to have what's called a test taker account, and you do that at www, that's WebAssessor, www.webassessor.com, Salesforce. So for those of you who have not yet set up your WebAssessor account, you want to make sure that's set up. And from there, you'll be able to find testing centers. Now, if you're not located, if you've traveled, how many of you have traveled in from out of town? Okay, so if you're in some place where there's no close test-taking location, there is an online proctoring option. We call it OLP. So you can register to have somebody proctor you online, and you can get information from that, again, at the WebAssessor. Now, be aware, it's very stringent requirements. In other words, you have to have a webcam that absolutely exposes, both sides of your desk and your keyboard and your full face, and they got to have really, really good lighting. And there's a stringent set of requirements. There's also some stringent technical requirements that are set by the criterion, the test-taking partners. So if you want to make sure that you have a proper setup to do this, you want to download those system requirements. Make sure you have it. If you don't, you may have to go travel to take the exam. So you can go find out by looking at that. I don't have those handy. Now let's talk about the exam and dig a little deeper. In addition to everything else I do, I run a LinkedIn community. How many of you are on LinkedIn? Okay, a bunch. There's a number of Salesforce and Force.com related groups out there. How many of you are on any of the Salesforce related LinkedIn groups? A handful. I run a developer, a Force.com contractors/developers. That's the name of the group. I inherited it from a colleague a couple of years ago. And I see all these postings from developers, many of them international. Please send me question dumps. I'm going to go for the 401 cert. Please send me question dumps. Please send me copies of this, and please send me your copy of the workbook from the course. Tell me, give me what I need to pass the exam. And I stopped. For a while, I'd answer people. I'd say, it's not going to do you any good. Yeah, you're going to find all sorts of gray market material out there. Some of it is better than others. Some of it is very good. Some of it is somebody's notes that they took when they took the exam. Some of it are actual questions that used to be in the question pool, but there's a huge question pool. And none of that gray market material is certainly sanctioned by Salesforce. And it'll, maybe give you a sense of what the questions are like, but don't depend on question dumps. First of all, you won't pass the exam. Second of all, we ask everybody taking the exam and becoming certified to respect something. And what I talked about earlier, which is that the certification process is not take the course, take the exam. It's we want to show value with the certification, and we do. The certifications of Salesforce are different, and they are highly respected and continue to be highly respected. And it's also a bone of contention. A lot of people get frustrated. They want to be certified, not only because they want it for their own self-esteem, they want it for their evaluation for their career, they want to make themselves more hot in the market, and it's a hot market. So they want to find, how can I get certified? That's why I suspect you're all here too, for some of those reasons. And if it was easy to be certified, that value would be deprecated. So we want to maintain the value of the exam. So yeah, I guess if somebody gave you all the questions on their exam and somebody else gave you all the questions on their exam, sooner or later, maybe you could take the exam and pass the exam because you memorized all the questions. But you wouldn't be certified. I mean, you'd be formally certified, but you wouldn't really have the value of what the certification really is. And when you got to your job and somebody said, oh God, how do we do this? You go, I better go read tonight. It won't cut it. It just won't cut it. So we ask everybody who's entering the certification program to help us maintain this value by being respectful and not giving out the questions and creating large question pools, which can't be trusted anyway. So you agree when you become certified that you aren't going to do this. And it's a big deal. And we ask you to respect it. It gives everybody's certification more value. So what is the structure of an exam? Structure of an exam, 60 multiple choice questions. Each question is worth 1 point. 68% is passing score. That's somewhere around 40 questions. Now, questions are multiple choice or multiple select, and there's a difference. Multiple choice means I've got 4 possible answers, and only one of them is correct. I must select the correct question. If I don't select the correct question, I get it wrong. Multiple select is a little different. Sometimes a question will say, please select the best 3 answers or the best 2 answers. And you got to be careful when you're taking the exam to read the questions carefully, because if you get a multi-select and you just answer one and it was right, but you didn't answer the other one, you get it wrong. So just be aware of that. Some people don't realize that if they haven't looked at the study guide well or sat through a presentation like this, and they go and they take the exam and they don't notice it. So just be aware of that. No partial credit. Here are some tips for taking your exam. And I only give you this from my own personal experience. I did take the certified developer exam. It was a few years ago. It was in 2009. And I flunked it the first time. I was not an instructor at the time. And I took it again about, I think it was about 7 months later after I'd been working a lot in the platform and after I'd taken the Dev 401 class, and I passed it. It was right before I became a developer instructor. So when you go take the exam, assuming you're going to take it at a test center, you want to find out where the test center is. You want to really know where it is, because for the day of the exam, you want to be able to get there early, and you don't want to be all sweaty, and you don't want to be rushing, etc. Also scope something else out. Scope out a nearby coffee house or bar, depending, someplace that's open. Yeah, we're going there, hang on. And, be in a relaxed state. Don't have been cramming the night before. It's like taking exams in college or any important exam. I used to tell my kids this on the SATs. You really want to be, relaxed. So this is yourself in a good frame of mind. Now, when you get inside, I'll just put a couple of things in between these 2 lines. They're going to take your stuff, you sign in, and they're going to take your cell phone and your iPad and anything else, and you're going to go into a room, and you're going to be in front of a machine, and you do get a couple of blank pieces of paper as scratch paper, and they're going to start up a screen for you, and you get to push the button when to actually begin. And the questions are going to come up in one screen at a time, and you get to page through them and select them. So the idea is that you've got 60 questions, you've got 90 minutes. Okay, so do the averages in your head. You don't really have that much time. So you really want to go through these. What I recommend is that you go through these fairly quickly, multiple times. You want to, if you know the answer, you're quick, oh yeah, I know that. Do it. Now you're allowed to flag a question for review. And there's a screen you can go to that shows you all the ones that you flagged and then go jump right to them. So it's a nice little piece of software. And if you don't know it, maybe make a guess, but mark it. Make sure you mark it. And then go through the whole set. Go through all the questions. And you can either go right back to the ones that you flagged or just go back around. I go back around because it's good to see the ones you answered. You might learn something. It's funny, sometimes some questions will actually help make you remember something that you didn't quite remember when you answered another. Oh no, that's wrong. So it's really good to review the ones that you've also answered. And you want to review everything until you're really confident that you've done the best. Make sure you caught all the multi-select questions, etc. Go around and around and around. Don't spend too much time on any one question, right? Use the scratch paper. One thing I know some students do is they actually, when they first get in, they take the first 5 minutes before they start the exam, because once you start, the clock starts, but you have some time before that. And put number 1 through 60, and as you go through the questions, mark off the ones that you're not confident of, or the other way around. And that way you sort of have this big visual of, how do you think you're doing as you're doing it. It can be very useful. Anyway, when you're all done, and by the way, there are no trick questions, but there are nuanced questions. Remember the terminology? Salesforce is a nuanced platform. There's some slight differences between the way things are worded. They're not there to trick you. They're there to make sure that you really know it, that you know what you're doing. But they're not there to trick you. Anyway, before you finish, just make sure you've got them all filled out, and you come to the last page and it says, "You done?" I don't remember the exact wording, and you click submit, and it says, "Okay, are you sure you're done?" And you go, "Yes." And you wait. There's like 3 beats. 2, 3. Comes back. "Congratulations. You are now joined the ranks of certified developer," etc. You'll get email notifications. Or it says something like, "We regret, you did not qualify." I don't know what the wording is. Nina may know the wording. But, your heart sinks. And then you start to, damn, I worked so hard for this. And don't hit the table. Don't hit the receptionist. Get your stuff very quietly. Don't say a word. Don't talk to the person at the training center. Just gather your stuff and go retreat to your safe house, your cafe, your bar, whichever one you need. And don't order anything. Just go sit in a corner. Make sure you've brought a pad of paper with you and a writing implement. And dump your brain. What were the, God, I'd never seen what the hell is an analytic snapshot? I mean, those are the questions I was so sure there was a data type of radio button. All these things that, you go through as you see these questions for the first, fine, dump your brain. You can dump your brain. Don't furiously write down the questions thinking I'm going to capture all the questions and create a question bank, but figure out what facets of the application and the platform you were weak in that you didn't know. And then go back to the study guide, to that very detailed chart, and identify where it is and flag it red. And then after you've sort of compiled where you were weak, go spend the next week or 2 boning up. You can take it again the next day. You can take it over and over if you want to shell out the $100. But I recommend taking about a week, maybe 2, max, and then go take it again. Even if you're not really sure what you didn't know, bone up as much as possible, and then go take it again. Okay, it may cost $100. Maybe you'll funk again. Damn. Okay, go back to the coffee house. Try to remember, go take it again. And if you beat against it that way, you will pass. If you know the platform. If you don't know the platform, you'll know it when you come out of that test the first day. You'll know it. Oh, Jesus, I didn't do my homework. I did not know it. You'll know, and you'll understand what they're looking for. Yeah. Now, when you do pass, you get a whole pile of information. You get a printable certificate. You will not be told what you got wrong. You will not be told how many you missed by. Might have been by 1. You won't be given any information or feedback about what areas. Now, there's a rumor, and it's just a rumor, so I'll throw the safe harbor flag up, and Nina can slap me, that they're working on some kind of way to help you understand maybe where you were weaker, etc., but that doesn't exist. So you've got to know it. You've got to work with that study guide. You get a certificate, you get a logo, and you really want to shout out to the world. You want to let people know that you're certified. Certification has so much value in so many different areas. Yeah, it gives me self-confidence. I really do know what I'm doing. And when you talk about it, you can talk about it with a bit more of an air of authority. To your employers, if you are employed, to your recruiters, if you are looking for opportunities. It really shouts out to the world because it has such value. It really means something, that you really know something that somebody else doesn't, and you have value. So let people know what it is. Tweet about it. Join the Salesforce Certified Comm Professionals group. This is now a group in the success community. It's been migrated over from the LinkedIn. There used to be a LinkedIn group for certified professionals. Only certified professionals are invited in. join that group. Join user groups. If you're already in user groups, let them know you're certified now. Really, shout it out to the world because you deserve it. It's a hard thing to attain, and you deserve it. Let's see what else here. You can display the logo. Oh, by the way, we've got new branding logos. You might have noticed we have a whole set of new branded logos. They were just released. I just refreshed my business cards 2 weeks ago with the old logos. So now I got to do it again, but that's okay. It's well worth it. User groups, get on board the discussion boards. There's a bit.ly link to the dev boards. And also there is a pending verification system. It's been coming for a while because, well, how do I know this guy is really certified? He says he's certified, but who knows if that piece of paper he showed me is real. So there's a pending verification system. You have to opt in, and you do it through when you set up your your web assessor account, you're going to be asked whether or not you want to opt into this, and I recommend that you do. It doesn't cost you anything. That way you're registered in the verification system. And then you have to maintain your credentials. So how do you maintain your credentials? Well, credential maintenance is a process that's associated with the four-month release cycle, right? Every 4 months, Salesforce upgrades to the next release, and you'll get a ton of information in the mail. You'll get notifications before it's released, et cetera. And the idea is that there's going to be a maintenance, there's a release notes, which you can also download from the site. There's an online e-learning course that covers just the changes that's free to take. Excuse me. And then there is an exam, also registered through the web assessor, through the Criterion site. And it doesn't cost anything to take it until you've passed your year anniversary, at which point it costs $100. And the $100 is per track, administrator versus developer. So if you have the administrative certification and then you get the advanced administrator certification, it doesn't cost you $200 to maintain the admin track. It's just $100. So whether you're the main level or the advanced level, it's the same thing. But if you were to maintain admin and developer, then it's $200. Each release exam is available for 2 release cycles, so you can delay it. Don't. I once got caught. Nothing bad happened except that I had to do a couple of exams in one weekend, and it's no fun. I would rather do them on a regular basis. It's designed for incremental increase in knowledge, and that's why it works. So many things change with every release. It's important to keep your knowledge current because things change so fast. So keep current. Highly recommended. The exams are very small. Some of them I've seen like 5 questions specific to your track. All right, so the force.com, I think the last spring 14, winter 14 was like 6 questions. It's very, very short. So I take about an hour, maybe an hour and a half to prep and take it. They're also open book, and if you don't pass, you can take it again right away. I think there's a limit of 3, and even then, if you have a problem, you can talk to TNC. Now, here are a bunch of links. The community is absolutely collaborative. The folks at TNC and the curriculum developers and the certification division are all open for communication and all over the place. Salesforce U is our Twitter handle. Facebook.com. Aren't those backwards? I think, yeah. That's our Twitter handle. That's our Facebook page. There's 2 groups. There's a training and certification group, and there's a certified professionals group. On the success community, one is open, one is private. You can't get into the certified group unless you have attained at least a certification. And you can always open a case if you want to talk about something. And then these would be some next steps. Get the study guide. That is of prime importance. Sign up for training. Maybe you want to do instructor training. Maybe you want to use the Premier catalog. Build. You want to immerse yourself in the content. You want to read, you want to build, and you want to discuss. You want to talk about it. You want to find a buddy. You want to, or 2, or a user group, or go to a developer group, or get to know some developers, and somebody who will let you, ask them questions and get into some discussion. That's how you learn. You discuss. You can't just sit there and have the stuff thrown at you. You can't just read. You got to do, and you got to talk about it. That's how it sinks in. And then do it again. Read some more. Work on another feature. Build something else. Build out an extension to your expense application. Talk about it with a developer. And iterate. That's how it works. Iteration is the way to do it. Incremental improvement. Join the groups. Enter the discussion. You can join success communities for any of the courses. The admin courses and the dev courses each have a success community group, and it's open to the public as well as alumni and instructors. You can get in there and ask questions about the courses. What's covered? Will this be covered? What do you recommend I do? I've been doing this. Do I really need that? Get involved, collaborate. The TNC and the training is just as collaborative as the rest of Salesforce, and now uses all the same tools. And come on. There, that's actually our last slide. So you can follow up. We're going to do a Q&A. We're just going to be here for another 20 minutes. I'll answer all your questions until they kick us out of the room, and then I'll still be available to answer questions. I will ask, just because I always like to ask before people get up to ask questions or leave, there is a session survey associated with it's on the chatter group, The survey is associated with the chatter group, right? So we do these sessions every Dreamforce, and of course you've seen in every Dreamforce session they ask you to please fill in this. It's how we know whether or not it worked and how to do it better next year. So we really do appreciate you taking just a couple of minutes to fill in that information. Questions? I'll open the floor for questions. One here. I'm going to step over here. Say again?
What login do I use for the success?
What login to use for the success communities? Well, here's the thing about the success communities, and they're fairly recently released, but basically every credential that you have in any Salesforce org, and if you're a developer, you probably have a ton of them. I have more than I can count on fingers and toes, will be available when people search for you or you search for yourself. But you want to specialize with one. You want to pick one credential, one org to be your master org for success community, and then log in with that one, and then go to your profile for success community. You're going to set up your success community profile for that one, and then put a picture in there, and put all your information in there, and don't fill in the other profiles for those other orgs that you might have a credential for, and even say on your profile, follow me here. This is me, whatever you want to say, but this is me, ignore the rest, because those other ones are out there, and if people search for you to follow you, they're going to see your name like however many times you have orgs. So that's what I tell people to do. Just pick one. Keep it consistent.
Can it be a production login?
No. It can be a developer edition login. It can be a trial org login. Any bona fide Salesforce login. I mean, your trial orgs only last 30 days, so you wouldn't want to do a trial org. But you could. Did that answer your question? Developer Edition doesn't need a sandbox, and the reason is developer editions are actually on the production servers, and they really are intended as sandboxes. They are developer playgrounds.
Just wondering, just because that way would be an easy way to like clone instances and play around with it.
You build multiple developer editions, and then you can deploy things across developer editions. Any other questions? Here and then there.
What are the primary differences between the advanced admin and the developer exam?
Oh, that's a great question, and I can't answer it because I'm not an advanced admin. But Nina might be able to answer that. The differences between the developer edition certification or exam, I mean, what is required qualification-wise?
Right, since the developer certification is, the basic one is declared into nature, it appears that there's a ton of overlap.
There is overlap between the certified developer and the certified administrator. My understanding, and I'd want to confirm this, and if you go into the study guide and hold them side by side, you'll get it right there. But the certified administrator really covers the feature set, the Sales Cloud and the Service Cloud, as well as how to set security and how to build an object and how to do basic care and feeding and administration of the beast, whereas the developer is more focused on building custom applications. So my guess is that the data model is probably heavier for the developer than for the administrator. Like we saw 30%. My guess would be on the administration, it would be less. My guess is that reporting will be more, and dashboards and analytics will be more. And anything having to do with CRM aspects of the Sales and Service Cloud apps and other features that are related to that will be heavier on the administrator. And anything developer-centric, page layouts, formula fields, anything developer-centric. But you're right. There's crossover, and I would recommend you look at the two study guides, you look at those charts, put them side by side, and you'll see it probably visually. What do you think? Is that right? There, I guess I do know. I'm sorry, there was somebody else here first, right? And then there, and then there.
I have a question.
Please. Oh, you want to come back to you?
Yeah, come back to
The brain will reset there and then there.
So nowadays in the industry, do you actually see like more developers being pushed towards performing administrative duties and more administrative being pushed towards development? I mean, given that the overlap is there, I know in my org, there's a lot of expectation for administrators to do what are called declarative development. A lot of developers to actually do administrative duties.
I think you're going to find it's an arbitrary. It's arbitrary, and I wouldn't pretend to know the statistic. I think a lot of it depends on the nature of the customer and what it is they do with their org. I get people in my classes all the time that are developer classes, and they're administrators, and somebody came along and tapped them on the shoulder and said, "We don't want to work with that implementer anymore. You're it." And those administrators have to come up to speed, and they come into class into Dev 401, and they say, "Oh, I know a lot of this stuff," but they're getting it from a different perspective. It's taught more from a development perspective on application development, which is different than an administrator's perspective. And it's really good to have those two viewpoints. But I don't know. If you find out, let me know. Okay. Who did I say was next? I said next, and then we will come back to your brain. Don't forget. Don't forget. Yes, sir.
Is there a time limit associated with the development work?
Developer orgs are forever, like love. You know, I mean, forever is a really, I shouldn't say that, but orgs are intended to be open for learning the platform. I mean, it would be silly not to. Developer orgs are the ways to get customers and developers in particular to understand the platform. So as long as the platform exists, it makes absolutely no sense, and Salesforce is brilliant to do this, to give you everything you need. And developer orgs do everything. You can set up anything in a, all of the main feature sets are available in a developer org, and if it's not there, you can make a case, and you can say, please turn this on, because I'm working with this and I need this. So you're not charged for that. So you have a question or a comment to that?
Actually, a comment for both of them.
Yeah.
I'm with Salesforce.
There you go.
Certified. I'm an architect, program architect for some of our largest customers. So to address your question first, some of the more mature shops actually can have both roles, acting as well as developer, something else you always see is a solution architect. So it's a more traditional form of the life cycle for development. So there's architecture, integration, all
I
that.
can relate to that, yeah.
Data model and all that. Administrators more tend towards deployments and password management, things like that. In smaller shops, you tend to see an overlap because it's so, that the line is such a gray line. Coming back, I'm sorry, your question.
Was there a time limit associated with the development work?
No. You can hang on to that for a long time. They keep refreshing them and you can keep releases.
And you can have, multiple, many. You can just, yeah, that's the idea, and you want that. All right, now, do you remember?
I have my question.
All right.
Can you take a moment and talk about what the test does and doesn't include as far as when you look at Force.com as the main platform? I mean, we're not being tested on Data.com or Work.com or Sites.com or any of these other things, or is, does it include any of these other technologies?
When I took the exam, those things didn't exist. Site.com did not, this is a few years ago, so I'm going to pass this off to you,
Yeah,
Nina.
it's still the case. We do not have any copies from Work.com or any of the Salesforce Service Cloud. I recommend one thing that you guys downloading study that when you look into the objectives, there is a section just in objectives, the topics are included, and the weighting, if you're certain database table weight matters.
Now,
And just figure out, where you really need to from that.
that said, let me add a friendly amendment. The maintenance exams may cover things having to do with data.com and database.com in the force.com category. And what you'll find is when you get the release notes, you will be told what section, the release notes are, ever looked at release notes? Okay, so you know. For those of you who haven't, release notes are broken out by sort of category. And you will be advised as a force.com developer maintaining your certification, you will be responsible for knowing these sections in the release notes, and there's e-learning that goes along with it. So the maintenance exams are, it tells you, absolutely. What's challenging, and we'll come to you in a second in there, is that when you look at the study guide for the certified developer and you look and it says business logic, Okay, well, what's business logic? Well, business logic, validation rules, workflow, approval process. Ooh, wait a minute, what about flow? Flow is now included in business logic. So and we teach it in Dev 401. You're going to need flow, and I think there is a new line item in there, but you'd have to go look for sure. So we had a couple more questions here, and then I think we have there, and then more, I'm sure. Go ahead.
Was the exam test you're developing knowledge, like for loops, you're developing common sense?
That's programming.
Is it tested or just?
No, because that would be under Apex, and Apex is not in the developer certification. And there are developers out there who are certified developers, and unfortunately there are recruiters and a lot of customers who don't get this, that a certified Force.com developer is not an Apex pro. And there are people who take advantage of that and, maybe they don't, sort of lying by omission. Oh, wow, you're a certified developer, you're going to help me with all my triggers. Not necessarily, and they don't necessarily say no. So, be honest about your certifications as well. That's certified advanced developer. That's knowledge of the programming and the full life cycle and the deployment and the unit tests and continuous integration and sandboxes, and that's advanced developer. Yes, ma'am. Well, it isn't a practice test. There's about half a dozen sample questions to give you a sense of what they're like. That's about it. Questions? Question.
Do you mean to say that validation rules, workflow processes, and triggers and email alerts, all those do not come under security?
No. Workflow, absolutely included. Validation, absolutely included. Approval process, absolutely included. Triggers, no. That's Apex. Nothing having to do with the nuance of Apex and programming, or even the programming of Visual Force.
But triggers do have syntactical similarities to validation.
Triggers have all sorts of interesting similarities to validation rules and workflow, but triggers are Apex, and Apex is not covered. Now, that said, it is important, and we teach it in Dev 401, and it might or might not be included on the exam, that it is quite possible. One of the challenges with the Apex development in Force.com is that Apex can be impacted by a change to metadata. You build a workflow that includes a field update, and you got a trigger out there. That field update causes those triggers to, I'm not going to go into the technical stuff, and there should be some understanding of what triggers are, and maybe even a little understanding of some, that administrators should probably be talking to the developers and maybe running unit tests. Exactly what questions would be on the exam about that, I can't tell you. The change sets are declarative. Anything declarative is kind of sort of fair game, but double check the study guide. Read the Force.com fundamentals book. Go over and get your copy before they run out. Question?
Are implementers forced to take these exams? Like if there's an implementer who's certified by Salesforce, who's going to implement a project for me, is it fair to assume that they are certified? Or?
It is never fair to assume anything. How do you spell assume? An implementer may have a number of individuals who are certified. Which individual they put on your project is for you to verify. Questions? Oh, come on, you got more questions. This is the fun part. All right. Yep.
You said you get to take the exam as many times as you want.
What's the
Yes, unlimited times, you can take the exam as many times as you want, and 2 days of hours.
3 takes at half price? So after the third half price take, you got to shell out an extra $100 is what I'm understanding that to be. Is that what you said? Oh, retakes. I thought you said 3 takes. So a wad of hundreds, if you have $1,000, a wad of hundreds, just each time. You won't need, if you follow the do it soon, refresh what because you'll know what you missed, or you'll have some suspicion. And you might pass. You might surprise yourself. Yes, ma'am.
I've been through 2 release recertification tests for the admin one. And so my third one is coming up. And so it's not proctored, it's just that there's a cost, right?
There's no cost for, you're talking about the maintenance exams, or you're talking about
Yes,
to
the
take
maintenance,
this?
But it's the third release.
If you don't pass the third release, send her an email.
No, I didn't do the pass.
Oh,
There's an annual cost for all our maintenance exams. So when you take the first exam, for example, developer, you take it today, you pass, then for next
please do the survey.
are already
No,
in the cost of
Yeah, I've already
ready.
taken those 2. That's what I'm saying. I'm about to take my third, which is the $100 one.
That's usually, I think, did they hit you on the third or they hit you on the fourth? I think that's the third, because you took one and then 2 more, so then it's a cycle.
But I was asking, is that proctored or is it just like the other?
Oh, no, it's just like the others. Just like the others. It's just that you gotta give them the credit card. There you go. Two more questions, three more, great, more questions, I love it.
Quick one, you mentioned earlier that there's a advanced developer certification course, just like this one that's being taught here tomorrow?
Yes, is it tomorrow? When is it?
Session is tomorrow at 1:30 in County West on the second floor. I think it's, you have to change the name. I think it's
Scan, yeah, there's actually, I think there's two. One, I think, is a session of informational about the certification. The other is, and I don't think it's the same one, where they have the judges of the programmatic assignment, which is that second part. They're talking about the concepts and how it works and all of that. But I think it's two, right? They're different? One happened this morning, which was the iPass testimonials. That's it. Yeah. Learn from the experts. Until you become one, and then you can teach. iPad saves the day. We have a couple more questions. I don't know what time we have to vacate the room, but I think we have a few more minutes. So question, please.
So the voucher you get for the 401 final class, does that expire?
1 year.
You got 1 year.
It's 1 year. And you know, there's a reason why it's 1 year, right? The idea is that it may take you. Certainly the advanced. I mean, people come and sometimes my students in the Dev 501 class, this is their first exposure to Salesforce. And I always recommend to develop, and it's really hard, you know, the courses cost not only money, that's a week. And you know, to take two back to back, so they say, well, 401, 501, well, I have a propeller on my head, I'm going to take 501. But they don't understand the platform. And we don't really talk about the basics of the platform. We cover it, you know, a little bit. That 401, Dev 401 covers the fundamentals. At least if you're going to do a 501 course, and you're really unfamiliar, for those of you who may be unfamiliar with the platform, read the fundamentals, the Force.com fundamentals book before you come. Do some play before you come to Dev 501. You'll get so much more out of the course. It's amazing. I have people who come to Dev 401 who've been programming in Apex and didn't know anything about workflow. They go, oh my God, all those triggers I wrote, those could be workflows. So, questions?
Can you take the developer certification without taking the training?
You absolutely can.
And is that $100?
No, it's $200. $200. If you take the course, you get a voucher for that $200. $100. Yeah. Even if you, as many times as you want, where you think we're going to turn down $100? Questions? No more questions? Thank you.